One of the biggest questions, or I should say most frequent questions I get through email, is from newer knitters who have never done top-down seamless construction. So today I just happened to be at the place in my project where I'm separating the body from the sleeves, and I thought, well, hey, let me show you how it's done. The actual process for separating the sleeves, putting them on hold, casting on stitches for the underarm is pretty similar no matter what construction method you're using. So yoked top-down sweaters, raglan, and set-in sleeve, they're probably gonna follow this similar style. So it doesn't really matter what construction method you have chosen. If it's top-down and seamless, then you should go ahead and get started on it, and hopefully this video will help. All right, so what we have here is a top-down seamless set-in construction. So it looks a little different at the top because it's different than a raglan, but the method of separating sleeves is exactly the same whether you're going from a raglan or from a top-down set-in sleeve. I'm just starting with a little layout. We're gonna knit all the front stitches, and then you're going to cast on underarm stitches, which is what is right here. Then you're going to keep knitting, and this now is the back. And you go all the way across the back, and then here we are finally, and I'm about to do the separation of the second sleeve. So this is actually my right sleeve with the back and the front. You've got markers in place most likely, and you're knitting to the marker usually, but make sure your pattern tells you where the actual sleeve begins. Sometimes it could be one stitch before or after the marker. All right, so when I'm there, I can remove the marker because I'm no longer going to use it. And there's two choices here. I prefer to kind off my sleeve with scrap yarn here. That way it's a little more flexible when I want to try it on. But you can also use a needle and the scrap yarn and just thread it through the stitches. And those stitches are going to be live stitches either way that you work. Now I'm going to do the bind off. So in order to bind off with scrap yarn, all you have to do is stop knitting with your working yarn, leave it where it is, and you're just gonna start knitting with another yarn. And you just leave a little tail there that'll help to secure it. And I am just binding off. All right, so as I bind off these last couple of sleeve stitches, so that's second to last, and then we get to the marker, bind off that last stitch. Now, you can remove your marker here. When you need to use these stitches again, you're just gonna pull it out. All you do is undo that, and you know, a bind off, standard bind off is easy peasy. So that's why I prefer to do it this way. I'll be trying on my sweater next, and having another cord here, for me, is a little constricting. So here we go. So now we've placed our sleeve stitches on hold, whatever method you did for that. And then the instructions next are gonna have you cast on stitches. So your working yarn is on the right side, and you've got to cast on stitches in between these two sides. So in a cable cast on, when you're knitting in the round, what that means is you're actually gonna turn your work to the wrong side, and you're gonna use the needle without the yarn to perform that cable cast on. So for the cable cast on, you have your working yarn in the back, and you are going to insert your needle in between the first two stitches. Then you're going to wrap the yarn as if to knit, and you're going to keep that loop on your right hand needle. Then you're going to place the stitch on your left hand needle, but you want to make sure that you go in from the front side. So that will turn your stitch to be in the correct direction. So this is my first cast on stitch, but you can see that it kind of looks like there are two stitches that I cast on. So a lot of times, especially if it's a higher number, I will slip a nice little removable stitch marker in there just to help me, you know, when I need to recount. It helps me be confident that I'm doing the right thing. So again, we're working on the wrong side, and I'm just gonna show you that cast on a couple more times. All right, so in between the first two stitches, which is where that marker is here, we're gonna insert the right hand needle, then we're gonna wrap the yarn as if to knit, and we're going to pull that loop through to the front underneath that left hand needle. And now we're gonna twist so that you see like a little figure 8 there, and you're gonna insert the tip of the left hand needle like that so that your stitch is going in the proper direction. All right, one time a little faster, and then I'll just do it. Wrap as if to knit, pull the loop through, get it on the needle. So for this design, I am just going to be casting on 10 stitches and then we'll continue from there. So just pay attention when it says, you know, cable cast on how many stitches. If there's a marker involved, make sure you get that in there. If not, while you're casting on, you can just put a removable one in there afterwards, just before it gets too muddled by the other stitches for you to see it. So we did the cable cast on the wrong side, and now we're just going to flip it back over to the right side. And what you can see is that your new stitches, which they were on your left-hand needle, now they're on your right-hand needle, and the yarn is right there where you need it to be in order to continue joining the front and the back. So these are my sleeve stitches that I bound off, and this is the back underarm stitches, and now I've got my right front. You're just going to begin knitting, and usually it's just working to the end of the row. All right, hallelujah. I've knit all my pieces, we're joined, sleeves are separated, and so now it looks like a sweater. Like you're like, oh, I see what happened there. So yeah, easy peasy. I hope this was helpful. Again, it's mostly for those first timers who don't really know what the words mean, but hopefully now you do. Good luck.